Major Nzeogwu, can you please give me an account of the night of the coup in Kaduna?
Well, it's rather something like the longest day. We started this off on the night of the 13th of January when a night exercise was planned by the military college, which I command. We took our troops to the ground and taught them how to do night attacks.
On January 15, 1966, in the earliest hours before dawn, gunshots echoed through the streets of Lagos, Kaduna, and Ibadan. Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation and a beacon of hope, just 5 years after independence, was about to be plunged into chaos. What unfolded that night will be known as Nigeria's first military coup d'etat, a bloody upheaval that will reshape the nation's destiny and set in motion events leading to one of Africa's most devastating civil wars. You see, to understand the January 1966 coup, we must first understand the Nigerian of 1966. The Federation of Nigeria had gained independence from British colonial rule on October 1, 1960, inheriting a parliamentary democracy model after Westminster. But beneath the surface of this new nation lay deep ethnic and regional tensions. Nigeria was divided into three main regions: the northern regions, dominated by the Hausa Fulani people; the western region, home to the Yoruba; and the eastern region, where the Igbo had sway. Each region had its own premier, while Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, a northerner, served as prime minister, and Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, an Igbo from the east, had the largest ceremonial position of president. By 1965, Nigerian First Republic was collapsing under the weight of corruption, electoral fraud, and ethnic rivalry. The western region had descended into chaos following the disputed regional elections of October 1965, where widespread violence and political thuggery became the order of the day. The Operation Wet Tear, where political opponents were burned alive with petrol, terrorized the Yoruba heartland. The federal government seems powerless or unwilling to restore order. The coup plotters were primarily young, idealistic military officers, mostly majors in the Nigerian army. The key figures included Major Chukwuma Kaduna Nzeogwu, born in Kaduna to Igbo parents, was the leader of the Kaduna contingent and the most prominent face of the coup. A graduate of the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst in England, Nzeogwu was known for his discipline, intelligence, and revolutionary zeal. Major Emmanuel Ifeajuna, an Olympic bronze medalist in high jump at the 1954 Commonwealth Games, led operations in Lagos. Major Timothy Onwatuegu coordinated actions in Kaduna alongside Nzeogwu. Major Adewale Ademoyega, a Yoruba officer, participated in the Lagos operation. Major Don Okafo was involved in planning and execution. These officers, frustrated by political corruptions and ethnic favoritism, had been secretly planning the coup for months, meeting in various locations, including the home of Major Nzeogwu in Kaduna. As midnight passed into January 15, 1966, the conspirators set their plan into motion across three key cities. In Kaduna, Major Nzeogwu led his troops with military precision. At approximately 3 a.m., he and his men stormed the residence of Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto and premier of the northern region. The Sardauna, considered the most powerful politician in Nigeria and the leader of the Northern People's Congress, was shot and killed along with his first wife, Hafsatu. His senior wife was also killed in the attack on his Kaduna residence. Nzeogwu forces then moved to arrest Brigadier Samuel Ademulegun, the commander of the 1st Brigade, at his home. When Ademulegun resisted, he was shot and killed. His wife, Latifat, courageously tried to shield him and was also killed in a crossfire. In Lagos, Major Ifeajuna led the operation against the federal leadership, Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Balewa was abducted from his residence on Victoria Island in the early morning hours. He was driven out of Lagos along the Lagos-Abeokuta road. His body would later be discovered on January 21, 1966, in a ditch near the village of Iyana along the old Lagos-Abeokuta road, showing signs of execution. These conspirators also targeted the home of Chief Festus Okoti Ebo, the flamboyant federal minister of finance, known for his corruption and ostentatious lifestyle. He was captured at his Ikoyi residence and killed. His body later found alongside that of Prime Minister. In Ibadan, the Western Region capital, the plotters struck at the residence of Chief Samuel Ladoke Akintola, the premier of the Western Region and leader of the Nigerian National Democratic Party. Chief Akintola, a skilled politician and former ally turned rival of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, refused to surrender in the ensuing gun battle at his Agodi GL residence. Akintola was shot and killed while defending himself with his own pistol. However, the coup was only partially successful. In Lagos, crucial targets escaped. President Nnamdi Azikiwe was away in the West Indies on vacation. In Enugu, the Eastern Region capital, Dr. Michael Okpara, the premier of the Eastern Region, was not targeted, a detail that would later fuel suspicions about the coup ethnic motives. Most critically, the coup failed to secure Lagos, the federal capital. Major General Johnson Aguiyi-Ironsi, the general officer commanding the Nigerian army and the most senior military officer, was not arrested or killed. An Igbo from Umuahia in the Eastern Region. Ironsi rallied loyalist groups and by January 16 had effectively suppressed the coup in Lagos. On the morning of January 15, Major Nzeogwu, believing the coup had succeeded nationwide, went on Radio Kaduna and delivered his famous broadcast in a calm, measured voice. He announced,
"In the name of the Supreme Council of the Revolution of the Nigerian Armed Forces, I declare martial law over the northern province of Nigeria. The constitution is suspended and the regional governments and elected assemblies are hereby dissolved. All political, cultural, tribal and trade union activities, together with all demonstrations and unauthorized gatherings, are hereby banned."
He promised to end tribalism, nepotism, and corruption. He spoke of building a new Nigeria based on merit and justice. The broadcast electrified some listeners and terrified others. But in Lagos, General Ironsi was consolidating power. By January 16, what remained of the federal cabinet meeting in Lagos invited General Ironsi to take control and restore order. President Azikiwe, still abroad, acceded to the military takeover. On January 17, 1966, Ironsi formally became Nigeria's head of state and commander-in-chief, ending the First Republic. The coup plotters in Kaduna, including Nzeogwu, was isolated and eventually surrendered after negotiations. Ironsi promised they would face court-martials, but they were instead detained without trial. This decision to protect fellow officers rather than execute them would prove controversial and would be interpreted differently by different ethnic groups. Almost immediately, the January 15 coup became known in northern Nigeria as the Igbo coup. Of the 5 most senior political leaders killed, 4 were northerners and westerners: Ahmadu Bello, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Samuel Akintola, and Festus Okoti Ebo. The most senior military officer killed, Brigadier Ademulegun and Lieutenant Colonel Abogo Lagema, were also northerners. Conversely, the Eastern region's leadership remained intact. Dr. Michael Okpara was untouched, and the Eastern region's military commanders were not targeted. Although some coup plotters were Yoruba, like Major Ademoyega, and some non-Igbo officers were involved, the majority of the plotters were Igbo. Furthermore, General Ironsi, who now led the country, was Igbo. Northern Nigerians, grieving their murdered leaders, began to see the coup not as a revolutionary attempt to save Nigeria, but as an Igbo plot to dominate the federation. The fact that Ironsi did not execute the coup plotters but detained them comfortably deepened these suspicions. General Ironsi's brief 6-month rule was marked by decisions that further inflamed these ethnic tensions. On May 24, 1966, he issued Decree No. 34, which abolished the federal structure of Nigeria and created a unitary state. The regions were renamed provinces and the regional civil service were unified into a single national service. Northern leaders saw this as an Igbo attempt to dominate the civil service, giving the Igbos higher education levels. Protests erupted in the north. Anti-Igbo riots broke out in northern cities. In May 1966, with Igbo residents attacked and killed, the slogan "Araba," meaning "Let's separate," was heard in northern streets. On July 29, 1966, exactly 6 months after the January coup, northern officers struck back, led by Lieutenant Colonel Murtala Muhammad, Major Theophilus Danjuma, and other northern officers. They launched the counter-coup. General Ironsi was visiting Ibadan for a courtesy call on the Western Region's military governor. In the early morning of July 29, at the government house in Ibadan, northern soldiers seized Ironsi and Lieutenant Colonel Adekunle Fajuyi, the military governor of the West, who was hosting him. Both men were taken to a nearby forest along the Iwo Road and executed. Their bodies were reportedly buried in a shallow grave in the forest of Iwo. In Abeokuta, Ikeja, and other barracks, Igbo officers and soldiers were hunted down and killed. The counter-coup was far bloodier than the January coup, with scores of Igbo military personnel murdered. Unlike the January coup, which had specific political targets, the July coup degenerated into ethnic massacre within the military. By August 1, 1966, Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon, a Middle Belt Christian and a compromise candidate, accepted to both Northern Muslims and Southern Christians, emerged as Nigeria's new head of state. Gowon was not among the coup plotters and was considered honest and conciliatory, but Nigeria was disintegrating. Between May and October 1966, approximately 30,000 to 50,000 Igbo civilians living in northern Nigeria were massacred in organized pogroms. Igbo residents fled en masse to Eastern Region. The Eastern Region's military governor, Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuma Kaduna Nzeogwu, an Igbo officer who had not participated in either coup, refused to recognize Gowon's authority, arguing that as the most senior surviving officer, he should have been made head of state. The stage was set for Nigerian Civil War, the Biafran War, which would rage from 1967 to 1917 and claim over 1 million lives. The January 15, 1966 coup remains one of the most consequential events in Nigerian history. What began as an attempt by young officers to end corruption and ethnic favoritism instead deepened Nigerians' ethnic divisions and set in motion a chain of violence that nearly tore the nation apart. Major Chukwuma Kaduna Nzeogwu, the coup's leading figure, would later join the Biafran side during the Civil War and was killed in action on July 26, 1967 in Nsukka. Major Emmanuel Ifeanyi also fought for Biafra but was later accused of plotting against Ojukwu, court-martialed and executed by the Biafran government in 1967. The questions raised by the January 1966 coup continue to resonate. Was it truly a revolutionary attempt to save Nigeria or an ethnic plot? Could Ironsi have handled its aftermath differently? Could Nigeria's descent into civil war have been prevented? What is certain is that January 15, 1966 marks the end of Nigeria's democratic innocence and the beginning of decades of military rule. The ghost of that night, the murdered leaders, the failed ideas, and the ethnic hatred unleashed continue to haunt Nigerian politics to this day. If you like this story, kindly subscribe to the channel, and then like this video so we can bring out more story like this and we can reach out to more people. Peace.